Hello all, I'm Hannah, and for this assignment I chose to do an analysis on 5 different insurance commercials and see what their motivational appeals are and how they may differ depending on which ones they picked or how they go about it or what their target audience may be. So I picked an ad from Progressive, State Farm, Allstate, Geico, and Liberty Mutual. So the first one I picked was a Progressive ad called Baby Me, and they're selling an insurance policy, but I think their target audience is young adults who should be getting on their own insurance plan instead of staying on their parents'. This target audience is made clear because in the ad it actually says, "Act your age, get your own insurance." This ad is from TV, which I think helps with the impact of the message since they use like images and nonverbal body languages. They even show the man acting like a child. And then they also have the verbal commentary saying, "Act your age, get your own insurance," as well as other narration. It's persuading them to grow up and get their own insurance. The ad, I say, uses the humor appeal to target the audience. I think it uses this appeal because it shows the adult dressed and acting like a child, trying to persuade them to grow up. You see that body language of him acting like a child. Using this appeal towards young adults, I believe, made it very effective. Personally, watching this ad, I got a good laugh, but I was also aware of what the message was, and it helped understand it. I think it also helped persuade in a funny way. And lastly, I don't think it harmed their reputation because humor was used in good intentions, and Progressive is known for using humor in real life situations to get their message across. The second ad I picked was a State Farm ad, which they are again selling insurance policies. The target audience, I think, in this ad was like couples or like middle-aged to older people. I decided that this was the target audience by the age of the actors, the situation they were depicting with the husband on the phone and the wife coming down finding him, thinking he's cheating on her. This ad is also from TV, which again, I think has an impact on the message because you can actually see the situation played out and what the reactions are, the body languages. Another way I decided that this was the target audience was the conversation the husband was having with Jake the insurance man, asking him if he was married and what he can do for him. So the motivational appeal in this ad was humor, and I think it also had a little bit of warmth mixed in. The humor appeal is obvious because the commercial's funny. You remember the Jake from State Farm at 3 a.m. It also has a good story to it, the wife thinking that he's cheating and Jake's answers of khakis. However, there is warmth that isn't as obvious. So at the end of the commercial, they state their State Farm slogan, the "Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there." And when you think of neighbors, you think of comforting, like it's good, you feel safe in your neighborhood, you feel safe at home. I think that also helps get the point across. And they definitely use those motivational appeals to their advantage because you do remember those commercials. I think that it didn't do any harm to their reputation because, again, they're known for funny commercials to get the point across. The third ad I chose was an Allstate Mayhem commercial, and I believe the target audience of this one is really anyone who drives or owns a cell phone. This situation with the cell phone and texting and driving is becoming more common, so that's why I think it makes the target audience pretty apparent what it's going to be. So this ad is also from TV, like the others, which again has a big impact on getting the point across. You can really see the situation play out, take in that nonverbal and verbal tactics. In the particular ad, you have the nonverbal body movements and body language of the drivers, the verbal sounds coming from Mayhem being the phone. You also have the verbal commentary of the narration in the back. It really helps persuade drivers to get car insurance in case an accident does happen because it happens every day. It's unexpected. And seeing those situations happen shows anything can happen to anyone. The main motivational appeal in this ad is probably fear. It puts fear into the target audience that accidents and situations can happen out of nowhere. and you need to have insurance in case it does happen. So it persuades you to look into getting insurance. Having the fear persuasion can really convince people because they don't know what's going to happen. They want to prevent having to pay all out if something were to happen. So I think putting that fear appeal into this ad made it effective. It strikes that emotion. You need to look into it. And therefore, I don't think really the reputation was harmed because Allstate continued to make mayhem commercials, and I believe they still do. The fourth ad I picked was a Geico insurance ad. The target audience of this one, though, was veterans, military personnel, their family. In the commercial, they talked to a real-life military family and their struggles they've been having when they get deployed and being reunited when they come home, which this, again, was a TV ad. And you really get to catch those emotions of what the family goes through and what it's like. You can physically see their body language going through these hard times. The motivational appeal in this ad, there's 3. I picked patriotism, emotion, and warmth. The major factor of the ad is obviously patriotism because it's a military person. It's showing you what services are provided for military families. And then you have the emotion of being reunited with their family. It shows their dog being reunited with them after being deployed along with their other family members, and it just pulls on your heartstrings. And you just see that body language they have. And then lastly, warmth, because it's a family. You get to see that they're taken care of while they're being deployed and that they have this insurance in case something were to happen when they're not there. So I think that was extremely effective for the impact of it. You really saw how taken care of they are and that they have all this available to them. So if anything, I think this was a positive impact on Geico's reputation, showing that they provide so much for someone who provides so much for the rest of us serving for our country. And finally, the last ad I chose was a Liberty Mutual ad. The ad's target audience is really everyone, all humans. Their message for this ad was all things happen to all humans, it's just a part of being human, which I think made it more clear of what their target audience was. And again, as the previous 4, this was a TV ad. And I think, again, being aired on TV and seeing the visual images of the situations going on with the verbal narration and, again, the body language, their movements, their facial expressions, everything in these situations they're going through, like car accidents and just life in general. So the motivational appeal I picked for this one is a mix of fear and warmth. The fear appeal is like the Allstate commercial where people are scared because anything could happen any day. You don't know what's going to happen. Car accidents happen every day in the blink of an eye. So they're fearful that something's going to happen and they won't have insurance to cover it. But then again, they also have the warmth because in the narration, they're like, when something goes wrong, we're there. We make things tough, like less tough when they're hard. They're at their worst, we're at our best. They just use very comforting terms and statements that make you feel better and know that they'll be there if something were to happen. So I think this appeal made it very effective, having that comfort, knowing that someone will be there if something goes wrong. And I don't think it really harmed their reputation. It just comforted people and made them look into it. So out of all the commercials being insurance related, a couple of them used very similar motivational appeals. Like there was a couple that used humor, there were a couple that used warmth, but there were some that mixed in patriotism, fear, So they did differ, but they were very, very similar. But overall, they were all effective in selling their product, getting their message across, using those nonverbal body language gestures, facial expressions to really capture the audience. So I think they did a very good job of what they were setting out to do.